about because it's part of our meeting today. So, before I start, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the agenda. So there's the agenda. And please speak up if there are other items you want to add. Hearing none, can I ask for somebody to, oh, sorry.
One question, Hillary.
Yes, of course.
This you may be going to cover this, but what are some of the guidelines and expectations? I mean, are we supposed to be on video all the time? I don't yet have my Accreditation Everyday T-shirt. Will I have to do my hair?
Those are great questions. Yeah, we're going to cover that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? I'm glad people have a sense of humor today. All right, not hearing anything. Could I ask for someone to motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lilia. Any objections? All right, not hearing any objections. The motion passes. Let's look at the last minutes that we have. Of course, our last sort of meeting was Accreditation Day, so we don't have minutes for that per se. So instead, we're looking at the January 29th minutes. That's the agenda, not the minutes. One moment. Talk amongst yourselves.
Neem, thank you for the curriculum update. Very grateful for that. The spreadsheet. The spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
There we go. A little moment of panic that I didn't do the minutes. Okay. There's been a lot going on, you might guess. So please first look and make sure that I have you accurately there or not on January 29th. If you can remember that far back. It's been a few news cycles since then. And then I'll just kind of slowly go down here.
A point of clarification, the X means absent, I imagine?
No, the X means you were there.
Okay, awesome.
Are we accurate, Cooper?
I believe so.
Okay.
Busy times.
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's highlighted because we used it as evidence, by the way. So. Tell me if you need me to stop or go slower.
I think you have me absent, and I think I want to say I was there.
You were not there, Lilia. I checked back. Yeah,
you checked back? Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you came late, but I'll check back on the recording if you want me to. I can see who's there.
Okay. Here you say Dr. Chavez stated that she needs additional staff to support this. See,
but it says Dr. Chavez is not here to report on updates.
Yeah, but go down after. I must have came later. Look at it says Dr. Chavez stated that she needs additional.
But that was made by LW. Who's LW?
I don't know.
Lisa Webb.
Lisa Webb. So I think Lisa came to report for you.
Hillary, do you ever use the participants function in the CC Confer to find out who showed up in the meetings? Okay.
Also on the right-hand side, you can see all the action steps. And I just want to assure you that I did follow up on all of these. I'm sort of, I hate the word anal, but I'm anal about following up on these action steps. So
these are so great, Hillary. They're so
Meticulous.
detailed. Oh my God, are you going back and watching the video?
yeah,
Okay,
I can't take notes and run a meeting, so I just
No, I agree.
and it's good for me because then I figure out I really can listen and see what if I missed anything.
I wish I would have learned to say that a semester or two ago. Yeah, I can't take notes and run a meeting.
You have so much time, Cooper. You're young. All right. So any changes, problems with this? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as written? Laura, I need your voice.
Sure, I approve.
Nodding. I motion to approve.
Yes, I motion to approve.
Okay. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Cooper. And any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Go back to our agenda. Okay. I can't see everybody who's here, but we're gonna start with assessment. And I know, Laura, we talked a little bit yesterday, but I'm gonna just leave it to you on what you want to report.
Okay, there we go. Now I can speak. Yeah, hi everybody. So just a few things. I guess one is I did want to just do a quick screen share if that's okay. We've been working on updating the spreadsheets that are actually, there's links to them on our website. We've sent it out to, all of us coordinators have sent it out to our division chairs for them to take a look at it. We have also, like, I've gone through Curricunet to ensure that all of the courses that are on here are active. So we've, cleaned them up and then sent them out to get feedback from department chairs. And so just in the revisions, just to make it clear, because each of us coordinators were doing it slightly differently, and that we felt like that was kind of contributing to some confusion. We have developed a key. So I'll just, let's see, I'll go to land court because that's got a lot on it. So what we're doing, and I've done it for every program in my area, we're highlighting. And so what SLOAC has done is we've set our goals, right? Our goals are, they're on the homepage of this assessment spreadsheet. Our goals are that at least one SLO per course has been assessed over the last 3 years. Okay, ideally, of course, we're assessing all of our course SLOs, right? Within that 3-year cycle. But we set that as our goal because we knew that we're not going to probably get 100% assessment across the board. And we're making such great progress across the campus around assessment. So that was our goal for this year. And so what we've done is to try to make this a little clearer is we're saying that any of your courses that are highlighted in green, you're current, okay? You're meeting our assessment goals. But you can see, like, for example, and oh, lovely, this is mine. I have a couple of SLOs that I can assess this semester because they're no longer, the last time they were assessed was outside of that 3-year cycle. And so anyway, we've updated these, trying to bring further clarity. We are sort of graying out those courses that are still active, but may be going to be deactivated. They just haven't been taught in the last 3-year cycle. So we don't want to penalize, make it look like they're not doing their job if it hasn't been taught. And ideally, if it hasn't been taught, then it's a course that may need to be looked at for deactivation as part of the curriculum side. So anyway, we're hoping that this lends to greater clarity for faculty. And so we've updated those. There are links on our website. We've shared them out. And what's been really great is we've shared these spreadsheets at departments. And I know personally, I've heard from a number of departments, not because I was seeking clarity around courses, active courses, but I had meetings this morning with faculty to help them get their assessment done. So it's definitely increased. We're all getting lots of emails and questions to get that assessment work done. And then on top of it, we are, just as a follow-up, I know, to the assessment day, we are going to be doing a flex day event around ILO assessment. And we aren't going to use the same format exactly that we used before because what we realized we developed a rubric. It was really focused just on faculty. And so we were missing all these areas, right? Well, staff and service areas. So we haven't fully fleshed out exactly what we're doing on that flex day, but we will. And so there'll definitely be evidence of widespread dialogue. And then in addition to that, what we're really encouraging is for a lot of that documentation of the dialogue and so forth to really be embedded, both ILOs and PLOs to be embedded in APUs and program reviews. And what we noticed going through the validation process is we actually need to tweak our rubric that we use to validate. I mean, we've done it now twice, and it's not capturing the data that we really would like to have. So again, just as part of an assessment, we've assessed the rubric tool, and we do need to adjust that. And we also will have feedback for Nathan around the APU and program review and just the questions around assessment too, to get at more of that information. Anyway, that's all I have.
So I just want to clarify, because there's two different things that are going to be happening with the ILO assessment. We had our first communication ILO assessment start at the accreditation day.
Right.
And then the Slovak team is going to be doing a start of a second ILO for critical thinking on a March Flex Day. And then I will follow up with the Slovak team, because we had a pretty incredible turnout for the ILO assessment with Cooper was there. So we had a student for the first time. We had administrators, we had people from service areas, and what everybody wanted to do was get back together and talk about teamwork and how to brainstorm a rubric with communication for how to promote teamwork, both in service areas and for classes. So it was a really good discussion, and we didn't know where it was going. And that's probably what we need to do, as Laura says, kind of take a step back and let the discussion move forward in the way it's going to move forward.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. So yeah, so we are going to be focusing on the Flex Day on our critical thinking ILO. Again, probably making it much broader than the prior discussions, just to be more inclusive. So we'll see where that goes.
Any questions for Laura about assessment or SLOAC? She talked about course, the student learning outcomes for courses. Laura, do you want to expand on anything? I know that you were focusing, and we also talked about ILO, but you didn't mention PLO. So I don't know.
Sure. I mean, I can just touch on that. So SLOAC, last year we developed we're calling it a department meeting template. It's a template to help departments assess their PLOs. But it's not just PLOs. It really does. The template's quite simple. It's found. You can find it on our SLOAC website. It really, gosh, if I had a sec, I could pull up an example. So like we used it for all of our land court PLOs, which we have a ton. And we got together and we looked at our PLOs. And so the form is pretty simplistic, but it helped us to really focus on assessing our PLOs. And in addition to that, how they link to both SLOs and ILOs. So, and then what we did is we took those documents and we basically just included them with our APU as our evidence. And I think the thing that's tricky about PLOs and ILOs, number one, is we can't yet document that in CurricuNet because of the way the CurricuNet was programmed and developed. There's a linkage that has to be done in a certain way. Anyway, it's complicated, but right now we're not able to use that for documenting it, because that's what we use to track SLO assessment. But there's so many ways that PLOs can be documented and PLO assessment can be documented. So for example, in the allied health areas, they have external accreditation reports. They do a beautiful job of assessing their PLOs and their SLOs and their ILOs within those documents. So what we've said is, great, include that in your program review or your APU. And when we're doing our validation process, we can assess if that's getting done there. Because that really is, and then all of that information should be housed, is our feeling, in the APUs. And I think if our rubric improves, I think it will make it easier for us to kind of, just get at the data around that. I did go through all of our validations that we did as part of SLOAC, and I put together a pretty simplistic spreadsheet saying what the markers were and kind of what we hit. And that's also posted on the SLOAC website.
Fantastic. And just for clarification, if anyone doesn't know, PLOs are program level outcomes. So for like degrees or certificates. And
well, and also, I didn't mention this, but we also have service area outcomes and we have administrative unit outcomes. And Marty Zielke, who thank goodness is back, she has done a fabulous job working with Dr. Chavez, who has also done an amazing job in the service areas. They've been really on top of it and documented it. And so we do have evidence of that also on the SLOAC website, but that's really the good work that Marty has done along with Dr. Chavez. Now, on the administrative side, that's an area that we're going to need to really focus and work on. And I mean, I know we've had a lot of turnover in our administrators, so that's made it challenging. And we do have a plan to meet with them to help them, really look at their program, their administrative unit outcomes and see if they're still relevant, maybe make changes, and then help them go through that assessment process. So anyway, I think that's
great. Cooper had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cooper, did you want to ask something or comment?
Yeah, I was curious in terms of I'm a little foggy. I won't even say which LO. So I'm looking at launching a small series of professional development trainings, volunteer ones, from the students. And I am also looking at both doing myself voluntarily, as well as suggesting that perhaps, there becomes an institutional standard of, some regular office hours in relation to these regular forums where, certain individuals who the public might want to engage, how they have coffee with a cop is a thing, it could be, coffee with Dr. Johnson could be a short but fairly regular thing. And I don't know if this is the appropriate place to mention it, but I've got some ideas that could streamline it.
I actually have a 15-minute slot. I have a 15-minute slot for you.
Oh, okay.
Saved. But I love this. But I think your question for Laura is, do you need to come up with these learning outcomes? Is that part of the question?
Oh, can any of these plans be used in the information that you're compiling to help with the review?
Yeah, I mean, Cooper, I think that's great. Like, I love the ideas that you have. And I do think that as part of our service area,
like student support areas, absolutely. So do you work with Dr. Chavez? Is that sort of the person that you work with?
Primarily Director Hankins.
Okay, so definitely communicate with them, and then I'll mention this to Marty Zilke, and maybe she can even just reach out directly to you, because Marty's the one that's focused on the service areas. But definitely, and I think is having some type of assessment within these new things that you want to develop, I think is great. Like, how effective are they? You could even do like a super simple survey, afterwards, and to gather information from the students to see how it went for them and where the benefits were and so forth. So definitely.
Oh yeah, just to clarify, I'm sure everyone's in total support of these ideas. I just want to know if producing some quick, good-looking documentation about these committed plans that are definitely going to move forward would help any of these processes right now.
No, I think that's the kind of thing, though, Cooper, that I wish I had a month ago when we were finishing off the work. But I would say that's the kind of thing I would love for you to bring that up at one of the open forums, and to say, this is something that I came up with, or the ASMC came up with, and I brought it to Accreditation Committee, and we're going to make it happen. Like, we are totally into this. That is very cool.
Sorry, I didn't know how to make a precise question out of that.
That's okay. And I wouldn't limit it to service areas. I think I would love for students to do trainings for faculty, right? I think faculty need to hear student perspectives. And one of the things that you mentioned last time, Cooper, at our accreditation meeting that I followed up, and I hope I emailed you about it, is, with the SAS, right? And student accessibility services. So we are moving forward, and we're having a training at the Flex Day in March, where I'm going to be involved with it, and Francis Moya is going to be involved with it. And, I suggested that we do examples, right, of sort of what a bad teacher, not bad teacher, but a student says, I have these accommodations. What's a bad reaction, and what's an okay reaction, and what's a great reaction, right? So I think the more we can hear from the students, the better we're going to be as faculty and staff and administrators. And so, yes, we want you to keep bringing these up, and we'll figure out the outcomes. Like, we don't want to burden you with that, though. But that's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Super happy to.
All right. Well, anything else for me?
Thank you, Laura. Laura has an hour interview with the ACCJC along with the rest of SLOAC. So
yeah, I was just going to say, not just me. I've sent an email to all of my SLOACers, and fingers.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Next week, obviously. All right. I do not see Vice President Richardson here. I know that she wanted to talk about accreditation a bit, but I will take the lead on that. And then as people have questions, let me know. So Arya, I want to start with your questions because they pertain, you were trying to like, what are we talking about? So next week, when the ACCJC is visiting virtually, we have a schedule. We finally got a schedule. They were supposed to give it to us a week before. They've been slow. So we got it last night, and we're still adjusting it. But I can show you the current schedule. It's not hard yet because we know we still have to make some changes for people who can't come to the meeting times. So you guys okay with just giving me a moment to find that? Is that okay? Oh, and here is Vice President of Instruction Richardson, right on the dot. So I was just talking about, we just started the accreditation talk. And I was just talking about the schedule. So I can pull that up if you want to start talking about the visit, and I can pull up the schedule so people can see it. Do you want to do that? But you're on mute.
I was having all this commentary. None of you. First of all, let me backspace. I apologize for being late. I've just been running around trying to take care of things. And yes, thank you. thank you for bringing up the schedule. I would like that so that I can go over it with everyone. I just sent you the most recent iteration, so
Okay.
you might want to look at your email for that.
Do you want to start by just talking about how it works, and I'll get it while you're doing that?
Sure. On Monday, well, the visit is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. However, the majority of the interviews will be taking place on actually all of them, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is time that has been set aside for them to have their own meetings, and Thursday, their final deliberations, and then their meeting with Dr. Johnson, and then they will have an exit interview. And I believe that will only be with Dr. Johnson and perhaps myself. So that's kind of the schedule. Once Hillary's able to pull up the schedule, we'll get a sense of who they are going to see when. Neem, I have put in a request to Dr. Flamer that we reschedule the meetings for the library as well as for the curriculum committee, so that they're not on Monday. I know you have a really important obligation that day, and we want you to be there. So I will have to actually revise the schedule once Dr. Flamer gets back to me with his response about Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a list that I just gotten from Dr. Flamer, who's the chair of the visit committee, of the specific things that they are looking for in terms of the interviews. So we'll be disseminating those to the individuals that are going to be interviewed, so that you kind of have a sense of what you're going to be responding to in terms of questions. So here at the top, you see each of the individual members of the team. And I believe this is Monday, the first day. There will be a meet and greet and introductions with few administrators and select individuals. And then we will begin with the actual meetings with particular individuals. The one that you see first here, team meetings to go over interview, those are their internal meetings. Standard 1 discussion, and standard will be with myself, of course, 3 instructional deans, and with the ICER steering committee. And at that point, we will be discussing, I believe, program review. And the other ones are labeled. There's librarians, learning center. We are still getting the word out to everyone because we have had many iterations of this particular schedule. I want to point out, Cooper, since you're on the line, there's a meeting with you, the vice, and this is supposed to include the vice president of ASMC, and you will be probably working with Doris to get 2 other student representatives to join you for that meeting.
Point of inquiry. If for some reason our VP is unable to attend or we can't get a hold of them, is this flexible, or is this kind of a pretty strict thing?
We want to keep it as strict as possible, but if your VP is not available, we can sub out someone else from ASMC.
Okay.
Denise, where is that on the schedule? Because I can't find it.
If you want to scroll back up toward the top, I saw it. Where did I see? There we go. 3 o'clock, ASMC president and other representatives. I need to actually correct that so that it wraps around properly.
Oh, and there's the time. I didn't see the time for me.
So that's 3 to 3:30.
Denise, can I ask a question?
Sure.
On 2 o'clock, oh, no, it's 2:30. It says student services directors. Do you know what specifically they mean? Because in my mind, I think of all the program leads. They're not titled as directors, or are they just meeting with Doris and Ernesto, who are directors?
I would say the directors and the program leads would be appropriate for that particular meeting.
Okay, because that's what we were trying to figure out. Is this the program leads or just the directors? Okay, so that would mean But program leads is almost like everybody in student services. Like all my categories. What, Hillary?
I'm sorry, I was going to say that's maybe a time to ask for a clarification, Denise, to see what they're looking for.
I'll check with him just to make sure, Dr. Chavez, and I'll get back with you on that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then I see technology is back on, which it was off, and it was on, it was off, and now it's back.
Yes.
And I'm trying to find it because Courtney's here. Distant education.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, this is problematic because I made that correction.
Yeah, and they have student services directors on the right side.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Am I supposed to be on what? This is Accreditation Committee. So can you scroll down? Can we make sure that the form is showing up at 4:30?
On Wednesday?
Yeah. Is this the one that I just sent out maybe a few minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I see some things that I corrected that should be showing up as corrected. You know what? This is not the one. Hold on a moment. And I don't see. Does the second form show up here at 4:30?
What day is that?
I believe that's Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay, it shows up. Okay. All right. Okay, so I just have to go back and make a few cosmetic things like that distance education. Other than that, this is the one that Dr. Flamer and I reviewed together.
Oh, there's technology.
There's technology right there. That's Tuesday at what?
1.
Courtney, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm involved in several different roles, from technology to distance education in reviewing one of my courses. But I also participate with the Distance Education Committee just as a support resource. Where should I look for the part where I review instruction in distance education, and where do I support Monica in any of the things that go on with the committee?
I would reach out to Monica about that because I think that she is reaching out to the committee. So if you reach out to her, she will be able to direct you in terms of that.
And so where do I look to see when I walk the Accreditation Committee through one of my online courses?
That, I'm not sure that doesn't happen during the interviews. What happened is they requested a number of courses, and the release for that has already taken place.
Okay.
And so you don't walk them through the course. They just asked for access to your Canvas shell, and they review it independently.
I hear what you're saying, Courtney. So when they meet with these different committees, they have an agenda. They're looking through our report and trying to get clarification. And so they've already sent us something like 50 to 100 questions. That's what you and I have been corresponding about. But there's additional items that they want clarification about. And if you want sort of a preview, Denise can ask Dr. Flamer to clarify, what they're looking for from Technology Committee. So if you want to feel prepared for that.
I can tell you that they're going to be very interested in the progress that we've made in terms of the technology plan.
Okay, that's sufficient for me. I don't need the VTI to do anything more on that.
Laura?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm just curious if we will get to see the questions that they have for us in advance to the committees.
Actually, Hillary, if you don't mind, after we review this, we can all take a look at the email that Dr. Flamer just sent me. It actually gives a summary because Hillary actually asked that question earlier. And so we are going to provide a summary, probably individually to individuals, of what they're looking for. So Hillary's going to pull up that email for us really quickly.
Is it in the same email?
The same email. It's the first one.
Okay. Got it. 1 moment, folks. Thanks for your patience.
So Denise, I noticed that in your email communication, the open forum time changed for one of them.
Yes.
4:30.
Mm-hmm.
So is that still on Wednesday?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that that's correct in the information that Kevin's putting together.
Thank you. That's a good catch. Yes, we initially asked him for more space between the two forums because we wanted to maximize participation. And so he had said 2. But when we spoke this morning, I said, so is there any flexibility to maybe do it a bit later? And he says, of course. And so we decided on 4:30.
Great.
So will there be a message going out to the campus saying,
yes.
Okay, great.
After this meeting, I'll be working with Dr. Johnson, and he's going to send out the messaging for the forums. So yes.
So here it is, Denise.
All right. So this is basically by standard, and these are questions that we're also responding to because they wanted more evidence. For standard 1A, and we can just briefly go through them because even if you're not in that area, if you have information or evidence that you could share with us that might be helpful, we're accepting all help within all of the 4 standards. But budget assumptions, minutes from meetings. So they had some information, of course, from our ISER, but they needed additional information to help them in terms of their own assessments. So if you want to scroll up, that would be great. Hillary, I think everybody's read that.
Can I make a comment about standard 1A, the mission?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that in order to answer their concern here, it would be great if we could show them that in our mission review process that is ongoing right now, we are considering this concern. I spoke to this before. We don't want a general, pithy statement. We want to describe all the requirements of the standard within our mission statement.
Exactly. And actually, the committee, Hillary, myself, Stephanie, we've talked about this. And what we're going to do is let them know that we are in the process of revision, and we'll take into consideration the feedback that they provided in terms of perhaps expanding our definition or expanding how we characterize how we support education. So we are going to respond to them. Just basically the same way that you've indicated. And it's not a promise to them, because what we found, I think it was Hillary actually did some research. Hillary and Stephanie, I believe, did some research of what other colleges put, and they often will have a more philosophical approach to education. Some are very precise, saying, we help students transfer, we help them get into CE positions. So it looks like whoever framed this question was of the school of thought that it should be more precise. So
we think it was Keith Flamer, because his school's mission statement is like, we help students transfer to 4-year colleges. It's really
So we will tell them that we will review their feedback, but we as a college are going to determine, what that looks like for us, because there is a lot of variation among the community colleges and how they approach that. And we just have to find out what's right for us in terms of that. So when they ask questions within these standards, and I don't know, maybe this whole thing can go out, maybe because this is what he gave us. So maybe this whole thing can go out to the participants of the interviews, so you can get a sense of where you fit in here. Could you scroll for us, Hillary, a little higher? Many of the questions that they have are district related. So we're also waiting for answers from the district, just so you know, particularly in Standard 3. But to the extent that we can provide answers, we're going to do everything that we can to give them information that we have control over. Here, Courtney, you might be interested in this. Has the information technology strategy plan been updated recently? MTC notes, that type of thing. So if you have not already done so, you may have already done so, because I believe, Hillary, were you the one reaching out to Courtney, or was it Stephanie? You may have provided some of this information already.
not on this one. I didn't.
Okay. Because this was actually extracted from the questions that they sent to us earlier.
But that's very much what we have been working on, especially recently with Nathan. So we might just want to have our minutes ready on this. And we've done the work of aligning shared responsibility between the campus and the district IT, and provided feedback to the district IT plans about things we think may need to be addressed.
That would be helpful.
If you have those minutes, Courtney, I know you've already worked through the night. I got an email from Courtney too at 4:25 in the morning. But if you have those minutes, they'll be great for us to have in advance. So there's less that you have to clarify in person.
I'll try to forward it to you later today.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for 3C4, I think we want to also talk about the Chromebooks. And anything that we've done to help students with technology, so we can probably get some assistance here from both student services.
And we should also include the Associated Students of Merritt College, because the ASMC Club, Bang Null, actually reached out to people whose coursework cannot be done on Chromebooks and included them into the laptop distribution and donation that we solicit from Silicon Valley companies. So I'll see if they have those notes as well and include them in this.
That would be
also, yeah, and thank you, Courtney. This would also include DE because they help with technology issues and providing videos for students to be able to use Canvas, because it also says systems.
We also had an EDT course for students. I believe we offered it in the summer. Was that canceled though? I'm not sure. Neem, remember the EDT class that's actually tailored for students?
That's a non-credit class. I don't know if that was ever scheduled.
I think
It's
Is-
502, EDT 502.
If Chris was on, Dr. Foster was on the line, she could tell us. But I know we offered it, but what I'm not sure about is whether it stayed in the schedule, because I believe my memory serves me correctly. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe it was low enrolled, so we may have had to have canceled it. But at any rate, we can find out what we've done.
Sorry, I hit the wrong
There's
button.
one more thing that you should make note of, which is talk to the classified Senate and Walter Johnson, because he does a lot of on-the-ground assistance with students who might not be familiar with Zoom or teleconferencing. And so they will go to the computer lab and the learning center and get a lot of direct assistance there.
That's a great idea, Courtney.
So that's basically everything that we were given in terms of guidance for the interviews. If you think it would be helpful, we can send this out to everyone, and you can determine, how best you can respond to, some of the holes that they've identified, I guess, in what we provided in the ICER. So that's the schedule. Those are the guiding questions. The forum. Nathan, is Nathan on the phone? Nathan, I don't know if you got my email. I've actually asked if you can help set up the forum, because there are some pretty precise specifications that are beyond my level of expertise with Zoom. So I'm hoping you'll be able to get the links for those set up for us.
Respond with the link. I'll send the invite. I've set it up.
Oh, thank you so much. That would be great. And I'm going to, of course, embed those links into this schedule and send it back to Dr. Flamer so that he has it as well.
I have a question for Cooper. We want to make sure that students get this information about the open forums. So beyond posting it on the Facebook site and making sure that you get a copy of it, we used to have a way of texting students. I don't know if we still do that, but what is the best way to make sure students get this information?
I'd say that the best way to make sure that students get this information is to hit as many different forms of advertisement as possible. Text would, I believe, Mr. Bennett directed me to Mark Johnson with the district as the person who would send out the text messages. I've been told sometimes requests for that are a difficult process, but I would hope that this would be relevant enough to do that. And though I think that those texts go out to the entire district, so even if though a lot of them specify Merritt or BCC or what have you, if there's any complications that could arise from just maybe a disgruntled BCC student attending on their own whim, then maybe that is or isn't the best thing. I don't know. But that's the details with that one. And if I was going to narrow it down to one thing, it might be really hard to spread and get the word of that to everyone. But faculty making a mention of it or an announcement in their classes and Canvas is probably like the biggest thing that gets anyone to an event, student elections, anything.
Great idea. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Denise. Was there
No problem. So if there are any other questions or anything you want to ask, just let me know.
So there was a question about, we need our t-shirts. So the t-shirts are still in the Q building, right?
They are.
Q300. And if there are people who, obviously it's the weekend coming up, so it might be hard to get you that, but if you really want to get something, then email Denise and I will figure something out.
Absolutely. And I'll be here, I'm sure, until 5, and then I'll go home and work, but until whatever. But I'll be physically here at least that long, maybe even later.
But and Courtney had a question, does he have to comb his hair? So initially we thought that there were like really strict rules like about dressing professionally, but it turns out that's for the ACC-JC visiting team. There are no rules for us. So I think, just don't come naked. And
I saw that, Cooper.
And I think, be yourself. They want to get to know us. So it applies to all meetings? Oh, to not come naked. Yeah. Yeah. So be yourself and wear what's comfortable for you. And if, not combing your hair is the way to go, then more power to you. Are there other questions about that?
I just want to also share, we have the videos that Hillary so graciously put together for us. They would be a wonderful way to review. I just want to encourage everyone to just take a look at those. We also have a digital brochure that will be coming out very, very soon. Stephanie.
Yeah, I was just actually going to say something about that. I can share the draft if you'd like me to, so folks can see it. There is an additional page that Kevin and I just spoke of, which is why I was late to this meeting. Mm-hmm. So let me see if I have it up, which I do. So let me share my screen if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie.
Let's see. Too many windows open all at the same time. So this is what it looks like at the moment. Let me see if I can reduce the size. Why am I not being able to reduce the size? Sorry, it's been a hectic morning, but this is the cover page of our quick reference guide. You scroll down. So thank you, Denise, for providing us with that introduction that's been incorporated in the team members. These 2 pages were a direct reflection of just the logistical components of what is accreditation, the 4 phases, the standards to accreditation. Kevin did a phenomenal job. And this speaks directly to our site visit, what to expect, the dates of the date of the open forums and the times. As you can see, the 2:00 time will now change to 4:30. He has that information. Who our visiting team members are. I noticed an error with, is it Legaspi? He should have been under administrative representative. So he's changing that now. And then the information about the online components and who will be visited, etc. And then the org charts, to which he unfortunately had to tweak from the ones that I sent him because the images were just not reflecting. So he was able to convert and include. And then our mission, vision, values, and goals. He is inserting a page directly after this one that will speak to the equity paragraph to which Lisa Webb provided us with, along with the data that represents our student population by ethnicity and gender that Nathan provided. So that will be the page following this with another graphical picture to kind of dress it up. And then here are the summaries to which were linked from the website directly. And then the full ICER, the link to the full ICER, and then our improvement plans here where the links are not active because we hadn't finished with creating all of those links. And then lastly, the quality focus essay that was included in our ICER as well. And that is our brochure.
Do we want to link to the videos rather than the slides?
Well, so I was going to ask you about that because I wasn't clear on where those, I thought that listing that I had provided him with was, but it looks like those are just the slides. So the videos are incorporated on the page as well.
Yeah, everything's on the accreditation homepage.
Okay, I guess I was confused as to where those were exactly. Is that in that tab where it says play, or?
Yeah, they're all in one place.
I wasn't sure how he could, I guess, link to the different. I guess I can ask him if there's any way to change the link and change it to the videos as opposed to the slides.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, they're both just links.
Okay.
The videos are Google Docs. I mean, the slides are Google Docs. The videos are YouTube.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, I will talk to him in a little bit. He was creating that page and said that he would connect with me. So we are just about done with that brochure.
Thank you for coordinating that and plugging in all the pieces that are specific to Merritt. We really appreciate you doing that, Stephanie. I think that'll help us look good. And it's also, a good way for the campus to kind of get an overview and a snapshot of, our whole process. If I were to share anything with you, I would just say really focus on the positive changes that you've experienced at Merritt, for the last couple of years, particularly under, Dr. Johnson. So I just want to encourage everyone, let's put our best foot forward. There's a lot at stake right now in terms of this visit. After, we'll find out if we get removed from warning. I think personally that all of the work that we've done here at the college with the help of, all of you, and in particular, some people who've helped keep us on track. Stephanie, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done in terms of providing that institutional memory of our processes. The administrative team, we've worked on improving our APs, and we're actually following that. So those are the kinds of things that I'm hopeful will come out in terms of everyone's experience. That, we aren't perfect, but we've come a very, very long way. And we have a team that's really committed to making the progress that we need to make in order to make sure our students have the best possible experience that they can here at Merritt. So I'm hoping that's going to be a common thread through our messaging in our interviews, in the forum, and otherwise. So that's my 2 cents for today. Okay. So hopefully, we will have some good things to celebrate. But either way this goes, in terms of the accrediting team's decision, I think we have a lot to celebrate here at Merritt, and I don't want any of us to lose sight of that. Cooper, I see your hand. Can't hear you though.
You're on mute.
I just want to share that I love that. I interpret that just generally as a call, if not a prayer, for solidarity, and seeing Merritt in its best light and representing her as such. I am so close to being able to fully commit to that kind of solidarity with the changes that I've made, and thusly to encourage my colleagues to do so as well, especially when I consider what has been eventually accomplished at the end of some very grueling processes, like untypically grueling processes, beyond mitigating circumstances, as well as I appreciate the differences that are on paper, most certainly, which are pretty extensive. But that first change committed is the communications one, which some people have just been absolute rock stars, and I hate to make statements representative of the whole that aren't fair to those rock stars, but the super vast majority of anything that I try to address or get support on is just so dang hard to get support, much less responses of any form. And I do really appreciate those that have been the exception to that, but that's really the gap. But there's still time to turn that around, and get on full solidarity. Little time as there is left, I just I just really need to figure out how that's going to change.
Well, Cooper, our doors, our emails are always open. So if there's something that you think that we need to address between now and then, we're always open to doing the best we can. So please do reach out.
I'm starting to get accosted publicly in front of my colleagues for CCing higher up administrators into conversations that just aren't productive or going anywhere or getting me the answers I'm looking for.
So Cooper, I want to make sure that you get your needs addressed, but I also want to make sure we finished what we need to in the meeting. I would say to email Vice President Richardson, like you could do it now and set up a time. Because also I want to reserve your 15 minutes because I think part of what we were talking about and what you're talking about, we can start now with the town halls at least. Is that okay? Okay. All right. I'm
totally.
sorry.
I was just making that note anyhow.
Yeah, no, and I think it's perfectly okay to say there's still changes that need to be made and we want more. And we're going to work for it. I think that's perfectly fine. We don't want to sit back and be where we are. We all want to move forward.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Neem's hand was up, Hillary.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Neem, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Dr. Richardson, I just wanted to ask if you're feeling any side effects from your COVID vaccine, because we don't need you breaking out in hives or losing your sense of hearing next week, growing an extra arm.
We're just going to have to see what happens on Monday and see how I show up. But so far, so good.
She's just being trapped.
She should be okay. I got my vaccination on Tuesday. I'm still here and standing.
Okay.
Oh, wow, man. I cannot get on that list. I don't know.
I'm worried about the second shot. I'm going to get mine on the 10th of March.
Oh, good for you, Aria.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that one too.
Everybody's experience is different. I've heard some people have a harder time with the first shot. Other people have a hard time with the second shot. I haven't heard anybody having a bad time with both. So that's the good news.
I haven't had any problems with this. They said I was supposed to be really tired, but I don't know whether it's just the adrenaline in terms of what we're doing right now. but I'm not even more tired than usual. So far so good. So
we'll ask you that question on Thursday evening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What time did you get it?
I got it yesterday around 12:40. No, 12:10. Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys.
You probably would have had it already by now if you were going to get tired.
Yeah. So no, it was pretty smooth.
Sorry, Aria. I know you're giving her the biological rundown on what's going to happen, and that's great. But we need to move on.
I'm here and I'm listening. I'm going to go to Black, but I'm here and listening. I'm just really hungry, so I'm going to try and eat something really quickly. Okay.
All right. We don't really have time to debrief on Accreditation Day. I think most of you attended at least part of it. I hope that you found it informative. And if you haven't watched the videos and want to do that, they are a pretty good summary. And I just piggybacked on the amazing work that Neem and Stephanie and everybody else did on the writing. So, all right. I want to make sure that we get time to talk about, would you guys mind if we skipped old business for now and went to Cooper so that we can make sure and address the ASMC report and the idea that we started to circulate or we started to discuss about town halls? Is everybody okay? We can go back if we have time. Okay. Cooper, it's yours.
Hey there. So yeah, my brain's just overloaded today. Forgive me if I'm just all over the place here, but I'm looking at some student investment in professional development trainings and workshops. I am gonna. So there's something to know as important context for a lot of this. There have been people who will think I'm trying to leave my board out of things, or people who have thrown the word unilaterality around. And I want to be clear that sometimes it's just really hard to make anything happen in a board meeting, and with events, programs.
No way. Sorry.
Right. And a student board meeting. So sometimes it's just easier to do what you don't need approval for, and then take what everyone likes of that idea. Once they see something work out, they want to vote it in, make a motion, do it, run with it. So initially, I just want to start as myself, holding open office hours as the student president, and doing a monthly, forum with the student president. I want to support regular forums for whoever wants to do them, whether it's a whole college institutional forum, whether departments wish to do this, whether Dr. Johnson wants to do, sit down. I'm happy to. There's a lot I can offer to furthering that discussion, but just in summary, I think that's a great thing, and I'm hoping doing this myself will inspire interest in the ASMC as hosting something as a whole board. That would be really great.
That's a fantastic idea. I'm happy to help with that.
And in the direction of professional development, we wanted to cover some familiar territory, but maybe try and aim for some more nuanced material of equity and anti-bias trainings, most especially. I think that you can have the most noble, brilliant, educated individuals, people who even come from being a student of a certain demographic at a certain age, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But were they that in this era during these circumstances? How much do they still connect to being right there in the spot? It's very different. So having, a student that can represent, people of disabilities, people of different racial or ethnic or cultural backgrounds, that can represent different experiences from different genders or other identities, to be able to come there and host a training and say, this is an amazing environment to perfect and sharpen the tip of the spear. Let me tell you what we are now directly still experiencing after all of this training. So once we've groomed all the obvious stuff out, what's still missing?
That's great. Cooper, we used to have trainings like that from students. That's great. And also, cool. I think it's a good way to find out if students want to start clubs. We used to have an LGBTQ plus club. Name's nodding because he and I were advisors on that, but we don't anymore. So we would love to know what people are asking for.
Awesome. And so another thing, this is just a very brief mention. Some of this information may or may not be more personal than I want to really expand on, but just in short, a personal emergency of great scale has been experienced within the student activities department, and the professionals of that department and its functionality are deeply impacted at the moment. If you are expecting on anything that to flow into place, any projects you're planning on within that department, if you're waiting on word about something crucial, or if you intend to reach out for word about something crucial, just be aware of that and maybe plan on some alternative contingencies. I have a suspicion that will be brief and people won't take nearly as much time for themselves as they should. But yeah, just know if you're in the dark about anything right now, that's why. And then the last thing is just what I touched on about wanting to bridge the gap between, so I could be in solidarity with Dr. Richardson's vision, as she expressed it to us, as the message and vision of solidarity and Merritt and all that. To expand on that a little bit, I'm really just drowning in problems reaching individuals, whether getting collaboration or cooperation out of individuals. It is the ultra majority. I just fail to believe anyone would believe the scale of how many individuals I reach out to, how many to, because I don't know every individual to reach out to, how much I ask key pivotal people to please forward a message, spread the word, what have you. So if any of you have never heard from me, totally understand. If you're one of the people I should be messaging, I'm certainly open to feedback. I don't really have any individual blame because I know everybody's under strain. I know everybody's spread very thin. I know that we've been spread thin since before COVID, and it was very difficult. Chartering a club, just trying to find, you could have 50 students that want to come together and form a club. You find a student advisor. That's your first step. Anybody tells me what's the first step to get a club, student activities tell you is get a chartering packet. I say it's make sure that you actually can find an advisor. It's near impossible for someone to give one day out of their month or biweekly to attend a meeting. So it's near impossible for me to find speakers. And again, you just wouldn't believe just the sheer volume of requests, invitation, and everything that's sent out. So it's a confusing thing for me because me personally, I don't feel like, especially a faculty member, owes me anything. If it's related to due process, such as like looking into policy and what
Cooper,
policies I'm being told.
Cooper, could I, because we're getting to 15 minutes and I want to make sure we get the main point of this and what we can do about it.
Yeah.
So
the problem is that I keep explaining these issues and people keep having so many doubts, so much understanding, suggesting resolutions that do not cover it, because I will have, I'll explain this stuff and I'll listen to 15 suggestions that I've already done. So the bottom line here is, I keep like draw an analogy between this and what the students are trying to say, and the difference between the Black community trying to communicate to semi-willing people who want to be allies, but don't understand their white privilege. They want to be allies, but they don't understand their white privilege. They don't get the point. They don't understand how they're privileged. We know that they are, but how do you explain that? How do you convince people who are not in a vantage point to see it and for it all to add up and make sense? And if I don't figure out how to have a more expansive conversation with you guys about this, then there's not going to be a way for people to see that perspective from the students or from the student leader of how impossible this is and why we need more action. So I really need opportunities to get into the details because I keep summarizing it and it goes nowhere.
Okay.
So I'll wrap it up. What I need is a system of accountability, something that leaves less honor system to any amount of contractual requirements, first and foremost, to support the existence of student activities, campus culture, ability, because it's not just with me, it's with student representatives in general. It can be very, very difficult for this. Or I'm being drawn into a corner where I need to start kind of blowing up publicly the lack of support that exists. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in any of these positions where I keep rocking the boat. But we need a quick solution.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what this body, so accountability for directors, is that what you're saying? Or for staff members? Or so, those are individual contracts that we as this body don't have power over. So I hear what you're saying, and I do want to help you.
Our first promise in the ISA report covers what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
Our first promise change in the ISA report, I believe that covers
in the improvement plan?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
How do we influence the barrier to making that more than paperwork?
Right. That's a great question. And bigger than this committee, but like I said, the idea of doing the town hall and having, I don't know, I can't promise you a solution. I would love to, but I don't have that power. What I can do, what I can do is to participate in the town halls, and then to do, as we did with last semester, if you remember, the multiple sessions and bringing people in. That is something that I have power over. So beyond that, Vice President Richardson is here, but I think that is a management issue that is beyond me as a faculty member.
I think it is 100% an every single person in this community issue, because it's not about authority, it's not about control, it's not about demands or anybody being forced to do anything, because that's how people end up hating each other in impacted situations. But people who are able to contribute can hide amongst those who are not, and not be identified. And also it's so easy to just see this and be like, well, I see evidence of the contrary all the time. This is what reinforces the disbelief in white privilege. I see evidence of the contrary all the time. It's innocent. Everyone wants to see what I'm saying. What I need is the help from a large number of individuals to help illustrate this picture that is innocently not being seen for its very complex nuances. And that's why we have headline culture, because we have too complex of a world right now for the amount of time that we have to look at the details of what's being explained to us.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sorry I can't answer that right now, but we will move forward and follow up. And if you're talking about equity training with the Professional Development Committee, I think that's fantastic. If you're talking something beyond that to like having people be responsive, that's a whole different ballgame. So I'm sorry we can't solve it today.
So
I'm sorry.
I just want to just say quickly, Cooper, I hear you saying a few things. One thing that you're concerned about, the lack of responsiveness. If there are people that you've reached out to, or more importantly, if there are people that you need to make contact with about specific things, I encourage you to I know that you talk to President Johnson a lot, so you can also email the both of us, because I'm a visual learner. And if you put on paper, Denise, these are some people that I need to make contact with. Can you help facilitate that? I'm happy to do that. The other thing that I hear you saying is about equity. As you know, we are really doing our best at the college to do everything that we're doing in terms of progress through an equity lens. And so if there are ways that you think we can do that better in terms of cultural sensitivity, in terms of culturally relevant pedagogy, those are all areas where we're working closely with Dr. Webb and with Dr. Chavez to make sure that we incorporate that more into everything we do, but particularly at the classroom level, so that students have the best possible experience. If you have suggestions for our efforts in that regard, please document those, send them to us so that we know specifically what you are wanting us to do. There was one other thing that you mentioned. It was the lack
to clarify that point. I have no concerns there. No concerns on the equity lens. I trust full support in that. It's the communications barriers I'm really having trouble illuminating for all the nuances to them.
Let us help you with that. If you just specifically indicate in writing what those nuances are, I will do my best to try and address those. Okay. All righty.
Okay. Thank you, Cooper. So I think the other items that we have to cover today is just to do a check-in on where we are in the mission review cycle and the IPB cycle. And I don't have those up. I know, Stephanie, you know these by heart. Do you mind? Because my brain is fried.
I'm so multitasking between Kevin and all these other responses. Yeah. Say that once more.
Just a quick check-in on where we are in the mission review cycle. I know at Flex Day, we're having a specific meeting to address.
Yeah, so my understanding is that the surveys were collected and they were being compiled according to the last thing that I heard Nathan speak to, and that there was going to be a more thorough discussion around what was collected at the Flex Day. I have not connected with Nathan in regards to what the course of action will be for that day with respects to the discussion. But I do believe that we probably need to address that at the next IEC meeting or have a discussion about that at the next EMP meeting. but there does need to be a very succinct way in which we engage in that process to finalize it and make it so that we have, possibly a new mission statement as the outcome of those steps.
Okay. And then the IPB cycle.
That is being addressed. I've not heard from Tom or David today. The request from council was that they were going to ask that the PBC move back their meeting by 1 week to join the PGC so that we could navigate our...
Sorry, so take a step back because I don't think
Sorry.
everybody here knows there's been a delay from the district.
Yes, so the IPB process, unfortunately, we were delayed in getting our tentative budget at the end of February as opposed to the beginning. We had less of a time to really dissect and engage in our budget development process. They are now asking for our budget development to be submitted to the PBC on March 19th, which really bumps up the timeline because initially it was like April 23rd or something to that nature. And so they've really given us 3 weeks to turn this around, and we're asking for an additional week to at least navigate a budget development process of a week or two, and then the navigation of the necessary governance committees, budget, and council for review by the president and ultimately to be submitted. So I'm hoping for the results of what happened at today's PGC meeting to help in knowing what the outcome of our request was.
Okay, and that will get communicated out, I assume, by David.
I'm hoping, yes, we will follow up as soon as possible.
And Marie just put in the chat, I think we're shooting for a joint CBC and College Council meeting on the 17th.
So we were, Marie, but I don't know if you were in attendance of the College Council meeting. I don't think folks really wanting to do that, and they're really wanting to hold their meeting on the 24th, which is why we're asking the PGC to push back, or the PBC to push back their expectation of these budgets. So if we're successful with getting the district to push back their timeline, we will not need to have a joint meeting. So we will keep everybody posted as soon as we hear the outcome of what happened at today's meeting.
Stephanie, just to clarify, thank you for that. If it's not successful, are we holding a joint? Is the expectation then that we would have a joint meeting? Okay.
Yes. So if it is not successful, yes, if it's not successful, we will need to have an emergency meeting of the council or a joint meeting. Yes, you're correct.
Okay, thank you.
So it's definitely information we need to know and get on. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you could support me on that because I needed a breath. Okay, so website updates. Hopefully you've all had a chance to explore all the updates that have been made. Our new homepage. You've probably noticed that there are still some issues, and Henry and Nathan have been working tirelessly to fix those. However, if there are issues that you see, you can send an email to them or fill out a form. I've done at least 4 of these. One of the things, I see your hand, Cooper, just a second. One of the things that is happening on the participatory governance page, or was happening, was actually the ASMC minutes were coming up on all of the other ones, which was great for you guys. But if you can see, I'm hoping they fixed it now. Yay! So it's fixed on some of them, which is great. But anytime you notice a link that's not working, it's really important to share it with Henry or Nathan, because the ACCJC, they've been looking at it for a month and they're going to continue to look at it, and we can say we're making those corrections, but we actually want to be making the corrections. Cooper, we have a total of 5 minutes left, but I can give you 3 or 2 or 3.
When any of you send this feedback in, please make sure to note your device, browser, and operating system. So laptop, Windows, Chrome, mobile, Android, Chrome, Firefox,
Yes, thank you. Actually, one of the things we noticed was that for those of us using like a desktop, we were noticing issues, but then if you looked on your phone, it was working perfectly well. So I think, you know, the variety of displays is interesting. It works well maybe in one place, but not as well in another. And one of the areas we wanted to address is we know a lot of students use their phones, and we wanted to make sure that the website is more usable for students using their phones. Any questions on the website? Oh, Courtney, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I would support actually faculty also embracing the mobile first philosophy behind the website to see the quality of experience and if things are usable, because really being on the go is the new reality. And I would suggest faculty use the mobile, use the desktop, because they're also very different depending on the task at hand. There are things that you need a lot of information on your screen in order to complete. And those situations are where we really want to push PeopleSoft to make things better, because a lot of the things that we are doing are just re-entering things from another page in PeopleSoft. And so we can improve the faculty experience by looking at things that we can't do on our mobile device, because we need to look at several PeopleSoft pages and say, hey, fix this, make this mobile friendly for faculty as well.
Thank you. Actually, that's a great professional development exercise, is to just have people look for things on their phone that they're not used to, or to look at their own Canvas page and see what comes up. Any other?
There's one more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one more thing that faculty should be aware of is PeopleSoft has not done a process review for all of the users. So they're missing a lot of key things that only you in your role might be able to identify. For example, I did a personal review before they launched, because one of the things I do is I download a spreadsheet of my students' contact information for use on my home and other systems. And they did not have that in the new faculty center. So you can file a ticket with the Peralta IT Help Desk, and there is an email that you can also copy so that the PeopleSoft team gets that visibility. But I encourage you to go through everything you might normally do as faculty and file a ticket with the help desk under PeopleSoft, but also follow up with the team that's watching for this, because there are gaps that are creeping through that you may not be aware of that can easily be fixed by them just checking a box in their configuration.
Thanks, Courtney. We have 1 minute left. Stephanie, can you do it in 30 seconds?
Yes, I was just going to share that the video links have been swapped out with the slide links for the brochure.
Thank you so much. All right, last thing is announcements. Our next meeting is March 12th. And, we'll be able to debrief on the exit report from the team at that time. During the Flex Day is March 18th. And there is the beginning of the second ILO assessment for critical thinking. If you go to the professional development website, you can see everything that's being offered. And Cooper, I believe that all of that is open to students, but we should check with Francis Moy if there's anything, because we've been doing a lot of great equity training. So it would be nice to be able to share that with your team as well. Okay. Anything urgent before I close? It's 1:30, so I'm going to say the meeting's done.